What kind of super ager are you? Go to ageist.com/quiz, take the super ager quiz, and we'll send you directed, personalized information to help you super age the best that you can. I'm David Stewart, and welcome to the AGEIST Podcast. I started AGEIST to champion people like us, to ensure that we can feel informed, healthy, and proud, and age well. Everything we do here is dedicated to helping you age better. And who doesn't want that? Today's show is brought to you by BonCharge, my favorite home sauna blanket that improves my sleep, reduces stress, and boosts my health. Head over to boncharge.com or click the link in our show notes. Use the code AGEIST15 for 15% off. Trust me, your body will thank you for that. Today's show is sponsored by Fatty 15. Fatty 15 features the first essential fatty acid to be discovered in 90 years and is on a mission to restore your long-term health. Go to fatty15.com/ageist. Use the code AGEIST at checkout for 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit. Today's show is also brought to you by Element, spelled LMNT. Go to drinkelement.com and get yourself a free 8-serving sample pack with the purchase of any of their electrolyte drink mixes. Welcome to episode 223 of the Super Age Podcast. We will be dropping this on February the 13th, 2025. Great to have you with us. Today, we've got Guy Leitersdorf, and we're going to be talking about AI, health, wellness, and an invention of his called Florence, which is his personal AI health assistant, which is just fascinating to me. I think that the future really is personalized AI telling us on a day-to-day, maybe hour-to-hour basis what's best for us to do and how to do it. We're going to get with Guy Leitersdorf in just a moment after a quick word from our sponsors. I want to tell you about something that's become an essential part of my wellness routine, the BonCharge Infrared Sauna Blanket. You know how much of a priority optimizing my well-being is, and this is one of the longevity tools I'm really enjoying. I've tested a lot of saunas, and here's what shocked me. This portable blanket from BonCharge raises my heart rate just as effectively as traditional saunas that cost thousands more. I actually measured it. 20 minutes in the blanket, it gets my heart rate up to 95 beats per minute, identical to what I see in those expensive box saunas. And what makes it special is you can use it right at home. You can lay on your couch, listening to an audiobook, listening to a podcast, whatever you like to do. The blanket uses far infrared technology to help you sleep better, recover faster from your workouts, and support your body's natural detox processes. You can customize everything from temperatures up to 176 degrees to session length up to an hour. I personally use mine 2 to 3 times a week, and I've noticed significantly better sleep. Just throw on some comfortable clothes, nothing synthetic, zip yourself in, and let the blanket do its magic. Cleanup is a breeze with just a quick wipe down afterwards. Now, I know investing in your health can be expensive. That's why I love that BonCharge has made this technology accessible without the hefty price tag of one of those full-size saunas. And for our listeners, they are offering special discounts. Just head over to boncharge.com, use the code AGEIST15 at checkout, or click the link in our show notes. Today's episode is also brought to you by Fatty 15. The story here is that Fatty 15 co-founder Dr. Stephanie Venn Watson discovered C15 while working with the U.S. Navy to improve the health and welfare of aging dolphins. Just a little shout out to our super aging dolphin listeners out there. Her discovery marks the first essential fatty acid to be found in over 90 years. C15 is known to work in a few ways. It repairs age-related damage to our cells, it protects our cells from future breakdown, boosts mitochondrial energy output, and activates those pathways in the body that help regulate things like sleep and mood. Fatty 15 is on a mission to replenish your C15 levels and restore your long-term health. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/ageist and using the code AGEIST at checkout. Guy, lovely to meet you. Where does this podcast find you today?
Hey, David. Thanks for having me here. In Beverly Hills, right next to our lovely client, Senegenics. They're a beautiful longevity clinic, and I can't wait to start working together.
Oh, wonderful. I'm going to hear a little bit more about that later in the podcast. What's your background, Guy?
I'm a nerd from Tel Aviv. Physics, computer science, math, that's my background. In my recent position before Longevity AI, I was leading the AI department for an advertising tech company. So sorry, everybody, for all the ads I helped tailor to you. My job was basically scrolling, seeing billions of people scrolling their devices on a daily basis and saying, what can I get you to do next? Click, purchase. But yeah, now I use my abilities to help you optimize for a better lifestyle. So that's cool.
Well, tell me a little bit about this. So before we get to the inputs, what's the output? What comes out of longevity AI that's useful to me or my practitioners?
You know, what I've learned doing some behavioral science is that we humans, we like to keep it simple and we like to do the things we love and we don't like to work hard for it. So it's all about finding that best match, like that ad that finds you that for best conversion. So we want to find you in the right time for a healthy habit that you want to do. Your physician has suggested that you do it for the best outcome of health, and it's just the right time for you to want to do it now. So it's really all about a co-pilot, a friend, a coach that can get you in real time clinical grade advice of what can be great and fun to do.
Let's put a little color on that. What are you hoping to achieve? So you have my data. What are you hoping to achieve for me?
Okay. So, we pull together in real time blood measurements. If you have genetics, microbiome, lifestyle data like your Nike, your Headspace, your sleep data, everything you feel comfortable sharing. And then we can harmonize your behavioral patterns and which one of those we want to help you amplify. And you're in the steering wheel and you have a quarterback of a physician that can help you make these decisions when you meet and sometimes in between, depends of which clinic or which service you're getting. And we really want to make you feel happy about doing the morning jog. You decided that this is your focus right now, and maybe it's been that afternoon walk. It's almost that time. We didn't see you doing that first step. Maybe it's time to give you this right on spot nudge. Some people don't want to get any advice on their nutrition. That's fine. So we don't focus on that. We really want to use the ways that we nudge in a clever, smart way that really fits with you. But it can also be, I have a great plan. I have my workout plan. My sports expert has helped me. I'm doing it with my coach, but I just haven't slept well. So now it's not the time to push you to go to the next level of weights. We'll wait with that with the day. So the real goal is to take your goals, ones that you have phrased from a clinical grade perspective, and give you the right nudges, the right information in real time.
So before we got on the call, you mentioned the 5 horse, which are basically the ways most people die. So what are those?
So basically, as humans, 80% of our unhealthy years are the 5 aging conditions, or as Peter Thiel calls them, the 4 horsemen. So we have diabetes and obesity that can be put together to one horseman, cardiovascular diseases, dementia, and cancer. And apparently, it's not only 80% of our unhealthy years, it's also 80% of the cost. So everybody's aligned on this interest. Everybody want to make you keep healthier, like your payer, your provider, of course, us. So the question is, how do we predict it and how do we prevent it? So the way we went about it is we partnered with 2 of the largest CMOs in Israel, which is a single payer system, which gives us one cool data benefit. We have full medical records, 20 years longitudinal of 1.6 million people. De facto, it's the largest longevity research to date. And now with our new partners in North America, we're tailoring it to different populations. Apparently, people in New York, in LA, live a bit of a different lifestyle from nutrition perspective, from pollution perspective. And what we see in the data is that the heart, the metabolism, the cognitive systems are deteriorating, but at a different pace for different people. And what we take medical grade analysis tools and prediction tools together with the HMOs. We calibrate it for age. We see what we can reason with because we have this longitudinal data. And way before it's time for pharma, way before it's time to say this is the disease X, we see the damage accumulating in the body, which is basically damage. Because we analyze it per system, per horseman, we know what is most likely to attack our health span first. We know if it's the cognitive system or the immune system or the metabolic system, and we know which medical grade data or biomarkers are used to do it from a medical grade perspective. And we also know what great habits that you're doing or you wanted to tell us that you want to do that can actually impact that. So we're doing the best match. What is the thing that will give you the best health span, the lingering of the health span, feeling good today about it, right? Sports, nutrition, sleep, mindfulness, we know it makes us feel better, but we really pinpoint what is most helpful, most impactful. And everybody likes to do what they like to do. Nobody likes to do their health as a chore. So we match it with what you feel like doing, and we learn as we go naturally, like every AI. Florence Nightingale, our AI, she learns what we want to do. She learns we never want to get advice on Monday morning, and that's fine.
I have so many questions about this. How do you, so do I get like when I get a text this morning, like I slept awesome last night. It's like all-time
Congratulations.
lifetime high HRV. Awesome. So I know I can crush it in the gym today if I feel like doing. But would I get a text in the morning? Like, how would you communicate to me and say, David, you should probably eat this. You should probably work out like this. Follow this supplement. How does that interaction happen?
Okay, so let's take an example. Like I can talk about myself that, the cognition is great, metabolism is great, but the heart is slightly aging fastest. My biological age is lower than my chronological age, but that's the one that's pacing forward the fastest. So everything will be from the perspective of making me feel better from that system, and it also gives me the best health span. In this case, if I slept well, first congratulate me, right? Everybody likes to be celebrated for great things that they did. It's so natural, and sometimes we forget that. So Florence will communicate that in your preferred way. If she sees you wanted to do it with email, but maybe you never responded there or you never really took an action from there, she'll try and just ping you just in a regular notification. So it's really up to what would work best, and she will congratulate you on that. She will tell you according to your preference a bit more with evidence-based medicine, with a paper, or just with a nice story, the way that you like to be engaged, and tell you, hey, so you have this cardio goal. You want to improve further your HRV. You want to improve your capabilities to run that 5K that you mentioned as a goal. How about we do a run today, even though it's not your classic day? So she might suggest that. But again, if this is a Monday and you don't respond well on Monday, she's just going to do the congratulation part. You can always ask her what to do next if you like.
Is it okay if I'm going to ask you some personal questions here?
Yes, of course. I use myself as patient zero for better or worse.
Okay, well, let's eliminate patient zero. What were the biomarkers that indicated your heart was aging faster than your other systems?
Okay, cool. So it's my blood pressure, which was slightly elevated. And because it's not, so my father had also a heart condition, but doesn't look to be genetically persistent. So I might have some headwind, but I might have some tailwind. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is an element I can impact, but it's not necessarily going to be the easiest. So it might be an uphill battle here.
I've spoken to a number of people who are sort of working on this problem, and there's a lot of things to overcome here. There's the inputs. So the kind of blood-based biomarkers you want, the kind of wearables, how these things all interact. Then there's what is the person really willing to do?
Sometimes people forget that's a key factor. In my opinion, that's the key factor, right?
I think it is. I just want to emphasize this. We did a whole research on optimism versus pessimism. It is the key factor. What are they willing to do? It doesn't. The rest of it doesn't matter if they're not willing to do anything. And then there is the massive crunching of data. So if you take like a basic blood panel, it's about 43 blood-based biomarkers. You do some like other, I don't know, physically based stuff like your blood pressure, your grip strength, your whatever, how much you sleeping.
If you want to go take it to the next level.
Right. So there's a lot of stuff.
Yes, tons.
And Florence is able to look at all this and make sense of it.
Yes. So we start with evidence-based medicine. She reads all the medical papers that were ever written on a daily basis, each day the new chunk. And she says, okay, is this result recreated at least once in the last decade? Was this authored by the authors of current clinical procedures? Is this something that was published in a high impact factor journal? And if all the answers is yes, then what our experts are calling it, the professors are calling it like 1,000 doctrines. Like they scroll around the web, they do their research, and they give like the top 1-2 papers that are relevant today to add to the system. And basically she helps connect the dots between the horseman, a biomarker, and between an intervention and a biomarker. And when you connect these dots, you basically know what intervention will be most impactful to tell the horseman to come back another day in a way. So it's all about taking it from an evidence-based medicine perspective, but the real connecting of the data has to be from a massive database of longitudinal, fully connected, proper data of people. So it's not about that population 5 years ago from that village, maybe not diverse or age, gender, or smoking status. Maybe you want to focus on you, on the person in front of me as a physician. I want to focus as myself. So the evidence that Florence will pull out are AAA, but AAA for you. So it's that much more nuanced, and the weights in the system are just right for you.
So, I mean, anyone who's looked at any sort of like any of these research studies, what you're looking at is probabilities. So there's like a distribution of data, right? And I can guarantee everybody listening to this podcast, one of these data distributions, they're going to be out there somewhere. They're going to be like, way off to the left or right.
Yes.
So there will be certain things that work for some people that may not work for me. So and the only way you know that is if you do it. And so you get some kind of like, for me, I can't eat oatmeal. If I eat oatmeal, my CGM will go crazy. Like there's no form of oatmeal works for me.
That's why I love CGMs. You really discover things about yourself that are not in that or this paper. True.
Right? So you just like, okay, so don't eat oatmeal. But will Florence know this? So if Florence tells me to do something and I behave, my results are out of range, then does she say, oh, that's true for you, N of 1. So the next time I won't ask you to do this, I'll ask you to do something else.
Yeah. So I'm as skeptical as you are. My philosophy is like Descartes, cogito ergo sum. Like, I think, I exist, that's it. Now let's discover new stuff that are very likely. So we have medicine as a science, right? It has its benefits, it has its disadvantages, but that's what we all humans agree as the best way to treat ourselves, and it continuously updates. So we use that. The nice thing about big data, and we actually take a page from behavioral science and how ads are being tailored to us, is that, my mom told me that I'm a unique snowflake. To some extent, that's true. But what I figured out is that if you take 1,000 people that are very similar to me, they make the last 100 decisions very similar to me according to specific pings, age, gender, ethnicity, and timing, and smoking status, and hypertension with family history, without family history. At some point, we get to some level of accuracy that you would not have achieved unless you clustered that 1,000 people. And it's also a question of from which bank of people you cluster the closest 1,000 people, right? So it will never be as solid as cogito ergo sum. It's not 100%, but the idea is that Florence can utilize all of modern medicine. She can utilize all of your behaviors. And that magical synergy that happens together, sometimes it's not explained by science. Sometimes we know that specific behaviors impact medicine, even though we're not sure exactly why, right? We know about the placebo effect. It's one of the most proven things in modern medicine. So if there is something that I believe that I'm doing correctly, and evidently I do a jog every morning, like 3 or 4 days a week. So I believe this is working for me, and eventually it would. But because we connect it to evidence-based medicine, all of these advice makes sense to physicians. And all of these advice, we know at least a big chunk of the mechanism in the body of why that's true. But that magic of connections is really important. And the more data people want to share about themselves, the more we can look at this worldwide big data and tell them, that's really, really likely. Why don't you try that? And the more we know them, it works more.
All right, correct me if I'm wrong here. So it sounds like what's happening is highly granular phenotypes. So if there's, there's 10 million people in the database, maybe there's like 100 or 500 or whatever that are pretty similar to me with all my sort of, eccentricities. And so we can learn from this group. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Wow, amazing. I'm not a data.
And she knows how to do it in under 10 seconds. So I congratulate Florence for that. And, she's a combination of social media algorithm to keep you engaged and an LLM that is HIPAA compliant and everything modern medicine needs. So because she can only reference herself from evidence-based medicine, no matter what inner clustering she does behaviorally, it's always evidence-based medicine. So we're feeling very lucky that we got the trust of physicians. We got the trust to being the de facto electronic medical record. Like they have their own electronic medical record. We're agnostic to that. But what we learned from them is that we are expected to harmonize all of their service provider, all their vendors. Like it could be a running app, it could be a biological age service, it could be a genetic service. And the question is, what is the focus right now and what is the biggest risk to my system right now? And each of them tells us a very important part of the story. And they expect us to piece together the puzzle. And because we do that in an evidence-based medicine way, in a way that also saves time for physicians that can help more people, give more time in the session face to face, not with the software. So we're really winning this really important challenge of being their front end, being the system that they use when they see patients, being that way that primary care physician choose to use when they're seeing us on our annual or when we want to look at something preventative. And this is an important layer because then I can go home and I know that every advice I got is clinical grade.
This is not so much me going to an app. This is me going to my physician who uses longevity AI to work with me to help me live better. Is that right?
Correct. So we are very proud and happy to be a medical software. We are very happy that medical teams feel that this is the right solution for them, and we're very proud to partner with them. Like, so there's Synergenics. We're just here in LA to do that first implementation. They already saw some of the magic of how Florence harmonizes the entire medical record in a way that would take them a lot of time. Think about, let's step in the shoes of a physician. On page 57 of the genetic report, it shows that the B12 gene is not absorbed as good, but on the blood, it might show that it's on the maximum recommended clinical level. Now, because it's fat soluble, it's dangerous to give that supplement. But in many cases, especially if we're just not going through a doctor, we would just get both reports and say, well, that's great. I might just take these supplements. But Florence knows how to solve these conflicts and really get to the bottom line of what is useful and piece together the opportunities and take away the conflicts. So we're seeing that we are loved by clinics that are doing longevity clinics. We have clients in Canada, in the States, in Dubai, in Israel. It's a little bit like the Tesla model. Like they want to create the best car. So they said, okay, we'll get a big budget and we'll do something which is really amazing. And in our case, we need a lot of data and attention. And then we were saying, okay, but now we want to bring it to everybody. How can we get it for my annual? Everybody gets an annual, right? In the States, in Canada, in many places in the world, you have something parallel. So with a primary care physician, the challenge is that much bigger because you have to deliver a big value, save time, and do it with less data. So the situation is that proactive care is not really currently the norm. Like classic electronic medical records, classic things, they show me my glucose today, which might be great. But if the trend is like this, I'm pre-diabetic next year, in 2 years, what are we going to do about it? If this is my main concern, I want to know. But most physicians, the standard today is that they're not looking back because it's not what they're expected to do. They don't have the time for it. They will not meet all the people they need to help today. So we get them to help all these people, maybe some more, but also having the direct results immediately. And this is what I'm especially excited about because now we have a client, amazing. They're serving every third Canadian doctor with their EMR, and they're saying, you know what? We want to be proactive. And when physicians are using your services, they can give a much better service. And that's what we're going to do. So we implement with their longevity clinics. This was amazing. But now we're going and implementing with primary care physicians. And I'm super excited that like basically every third Canadian, and soon we're going to have something parallel in the States. I can't say exactly what, but people will be just able to go to their primary care physician, get best advice, clinical grade, super fast, and go home with Florence to coach them.
I find this personally super exciting. Like I'm really puzzled why I have a primary care physician. Like I'm not quite sure what they do. Like, I don't know. I go to see them once a year and I ask them questions they can't answer. And I guess if I get sick or something, I call them and I get a prescription or something, but I don't know. And it's not their fault. It's just like what you said, they're not looking at velocity of change. They're not, they have this tiny snapshot in this one moment in time on a very tight set of markers.
Yes.
There's actually all this other data available, but for them to dive into that, it's just, you're not going to even, I think I get an hour with my physician. And she's lovely. She's really great. She's really smart.
That's a lot. That's great.
She's trying to do a really good job,
Mhm.
but it's not, her job is not to keep me healthy. Her job is to like treat my illnesses and my injuries and things like
Take
that.
care instead of healthcare.
Yeah, it's a different thing. And sick care is really good when you're sick. Like, that's
Absolutely.
great.
We all know the case that it happened. We got the right people. Oh, we needed that. But
Yeah,
we have
exactly.
better tools to our quarterback, and the primary care physician is our quarterback, and we need to want to empower them with all the tools
Right.
to give us better care.
This is brilliant. So I'm just going to ask you, I don't know anything about Synergetics. I have no affiliation with them. I'm familiar with the name, but I don't really know what they do. How are you working with them?
Okay, that's very cool. So they're a chain of 21 clinics in the States, an amazing team. They've been around for decades, and I find that amazing that they figured out that proactive care is so important back then. And I think they should be celebrated for the fact that so many people actually supported them and wanted to be part of that movement, and now it's flourishing and they get to enjoy it. And this team has grew from within the organization. So the CEO, the head of tech, the head of all the plans and the medicine. So they're a really tight, amazing team. They really care about delivering better care. They have all the top tech, everything which is proven, their clinical grade, everything which is proven is going in their clinics. They're getting all the best data. And the classic challenge is how do we make sure that we are having enough time to meet all of our clients and giving amazing service? And like you just mentioned, when you met with your physician and you're having an hour, that's amazing. People want that. That's what people really like. That's why physicians came to the profession, to meet with their patients. And if we have a co-pilot that we trust, which is the challenge here, and that's what I'm very happy our amazing team did. So we can actually help them deliver more personal, better care that is tailored to what I want to hear. The behavioral aspect is like, if the first advice is, okay, this is your challenge, so why don't you go to the gym? But that physician could know that I've never been to the gym. It's not my personal favorite. I like swimming, I like running. I agree to go sometimes. Only when there's a friend who's good company. That's my trick. But if I can get that great advice that maybe going back to my 4,000 steps a day instead of 2,000 steps a day is the first immediate thing that I would love to do, then the physician is empowered to give better care. I'm getting out with a better feeling, and they can deliver the same standard regardless of who's that person in that clinic right now. So people feel that they're getting a great service, but of course, we deliver a book about that patient. In a high-end clinic, they actually print a book about you. You could put it on your coffee table. It's cool. So that book about that patient might be different from a husband and a wife, but the standard of care is the same standard. So health organizations in the States, now with our great partner also in Canada, so they care about delivering the same standard of care. So this is also part of the service from their perspective.
Where do you see you and Florence being in a year or two?
Honeymooning still. So Florence, that's a very good question. I imagine Florence being invited to more aspects of our lives. I imagine Florence helping us with daily tasks that we're doing, that we can just do a small adjustment that we would welcome, and she would know when to suggest it. I think that it can be in the gyms. I think it could be to your nutritionist, yogis. I think that the professions that are now giving care in longevity clinics are going to want to just use it in their own private practice, or tell a friend, a colleague, that they want to use it. And then basically everybody in the world, would get the benefit of walking to a practitioner, to an expert, to a coach that we love, and getting this great unified experience that every person knows only the parts that they need to know for their professions, right? Like for our privacy, security, HIPAA compliant. But whatever we choose to share in that particular moment in time might be the bottom line of what they should probably coach us for. So here's a menu of things that I care about. Why don't you coach me to one of those? And we can get this seamless experience everywhere we go.
So I'm excited about this. My guess is there's a lot of people listening to this who are going to be very excited to this, because as I said, there's a lot of people trying to do this. And this is the
Yeah.
first one I've heard that is actually doing it. And I love that you understand it's not so much what somebody can do, it's what they will do.
Exactly. That's what it's all about.
Right? So if I wanted to engage Florence, I want to go somewhere where I can have a Florence who's going to like text me in the morning and say, you need to eat this today, you need to do this today. And how do I do that?
First, you need to go to one of our partners.
How do I find them?
On our website.
Okay.
You can go for, if you're in New York, we're going to have another partner there. I can share the name just now, but it's a beautiful clinic. They're serving many great people of New York. We also have one in San Francisco, Primary MD, very proud of this partnership. So you just go to that clinic, you set an appointment, you can choose any tier of service, anything from classic primary care to something which is a bit more rich in data and attention. And then you get Florence home immediately after your first meeting.
I haven't tried Florence. It sounds wonderful. And if it does what you're saying it does, this is something I get asked this stuff a lot about, like, well, I'm not a physician. I'm just like a guy, right? So people ask me, well, there's this and that and this other thing, and all I can say is like, it's complicated.
There's a lot of data. I don't know how to crunch down all the data immediately. It's a problem.
To me, I'm actually kind of surprised that Florence exists right now. I was thinking this would be something like this would be in 2 or 3 years. This ability to take all these inputs and then run it through evidence-based medicine combined with my behaviors telling me what to do is really fascinating to me. And I can see, like, having a wearable, like I wear a Whoop when I go to sleep, I wear an Apple Watch during the day. Having these things go together, we mentioned CGM, so maybe once in a while I'll wear CGM and then I tell Florence what I ate based on the CGM. And then there's all this data coming in, and I have Brian Johnson on. So Brian takes his algorithm thing like to a whole other.
Yes.
Brian's willingness exceeds mine as to what
it takes us forward. We're testing more things that physician would not approve right now. So I would not recommend them, but that's how medicine is getting done. You're testing it, broader scale, smaller scale. It's important that it's done.
So I think it's interesting to, Brian allegedly spends, he told me he spends like a couple $1 million a year. So I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to do a lot of the other things that Brian is willing to do, but I would really like to have this advice of what do I do today? Like,
so when we have coffee in New York, I'll invite you to the clinic we're going to work with.
Yeah. I'm totally go.
Test it for yourself.
Yeah, I just think that this is just, everybody wants to know. They want 2 things, like what you said. They want it simple and they want it easy. So that often defaults to just like, what pill do I swallow? Well, it's a little more complicated than that. But if you can just tell me, do this today, eat this today, and now I don't have decision fatigue from that. I don't have to think about that. That's just like what I do. It's like, oh, Florence said do this. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, great. Done. So that whole part of my life is like, that's all scheduled, done. I don't got to think about that.
What we figured out? That there's like different flavors to people. Like we all want it, things that we love and that it's easy and we get the result and don't have to think too much and we don't have to do the decision making. But some people, and we see it in research and we see it with Florence, some people want to actually get 2 options or maybe even 3 options. Surprisingly, 3 options is it's better than 2. And people want to say, okay, so here's the 3, one with nutrition, one with sports, and maybe one with lighter type of sports. Surprising, by the way, people usually choose the 2 that are closer to each other. They choose one of those. This is like a behavioral tilt that we're having, like they won a Nobel Prize for that. And Florence is using behavioral elements to help us achieve things. So giving the right 3 options to people, all beneficial, all things that I love, but sometimes I just don't feel like changing my nutrition today. I don't know what I feel like. I feel like a light workout. Well, that's better than nothing, isn't it? It's all about the retention. It's all about keeping the game going and doing something right for myself today. And if my physician thinks it's in the top 3, wow, that's a win.
This is wonderful. You're here in what, 4 weeks?
Yes, exactly.
We are going to get together and I want to see this in action and we're going to film this.
Amazing.
I want to see this, understand why Dr. Cindy had us in contact. I think this is absolutely brilliant. So this is what happens to like 99% of the people out there, they are barraged with contradictory, conflicting, confusing information, which leads to paralysis. There is no action, right? Like, this person told me to do this, I read this, this is this. What do? I do nothing.
Paradox of choice. You go to the supermarket, you see
Right.
10 types of mustard. We're less satisfied than if there were 3. It's a proven thing.
So if there's something that can just tell me, as you said, give me 3 choices, I'm fine with 1 choice, just tell me what to do.
Good.
That solves all this, right? And we can actually take action without going through the brain damage of thinking about, like, well, should I do this? Should I not do this? Would I do this? It's like, no, I was just what Florence.
In many times, they just don't do any of those because it was too complicated just to make up our mind.
Right, it's too right. Which, yeah, I'm so excited about your thing. I think it's really amazing.
Same here. I'm excited to meet you, and I'm excited to show it to you. And you know so much, and you met so many amazing people. You saw so many solutions. So I'm really excited to see how you think we can take it a step forward. You know, it's an ongoing game of improving and improving to what the people want, the members want, what physicians want. It's an endless game, and I'm excited to get your take on that.
Love this. Guy, this is like the conversation of the month. I'm really happy we had you on. This is super interesting, so exciting. And so longevity AI, if you're interested in this, go to the site. I'm going to go to the site, check it out, see if there's a provider there that you can work with. And I'm excited to get together with you in New York and see this in action.
Very excited. Looking forward. Thank you so much for having me, David.
Thank you so much, Guy. Take care now. That was an amazing conversation with Guy. Such an interesting idea that he has with Florence. I love the parameter of only giving suggestions within the bandwidth of what we're willing to do, which is so key, right? Like, somebody give me suggestions all day long about things that I'm not willing to do, so they really don't matter. So taking that into account, I think, is a big plus here about what he's working on, and then all the myriad of data inputs. I'm super fascinated. Guy's going to be coming to New York in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to get a personal demo of Florence and see what Florence actually looks like. We're going to get with Just Try This and a couple of words about what's going on around here in just a moment after a quick word from our sponsors. Did you know that just pounding water all day is not going to keep you hydrated? You need the right mix of electrolytes in that water to help that water be absorbed properly, and also to help your body function well with the right electrolytes. Element, LMNT, contains sodium, potassium, and magnesium, which are critical for helping our brains and our bodies function. One of the unfortunate facts is, as we get older, it's harder to drink water, essentially because our thirst response is diminished. So we need to put extra emphasis on drinking water, staying hydrated with the right electrolytes. Of course, if you are pre-hypertensive or have hypertension, check with your doctor before having anything with sodium in it. For the rest of us, though, Element is a great solution. Go to drinkelement.com, that's DRINKLMNT.com, and get yourself a free 8-serving sample pack with the purchase of any electrolyte drink mix.
This week, I am in a very chilly Manhattan. It is snowy outside. And I got to say, this has been a real winter in New York. I haven't spent wintertime here in a few years, but in the past, I don't know, I think in the last maybe 10 years, every time I visited here during the winter, there just hadn't been much of that white stuff. But there's like snow here all the time, and I find it really lovely. What else is going on here? You know, the other property that I'm involved with, this thing called Super Age, which is what this podcast was called a few years back. It's just a monster. What can I say? I mean, we launched this thing in early November, and mid-February, we're at about 400,000 readers and increasing at something like 100,000 a week. I've just never seen anything like this. So if you haven't signed up for it, go to superage.com and sign up for that, and you'll see what we're up to there and join 400,000 other people. We're working on events there. We're working on a lot of other things around Super Age. It's just sort of mind-boggling what's going on there. The other thing I'm really interested in is what Guy and I spoke about today, this idea of AI and health and wellness, and really AI everything. I mean, there's a lot of talk out there about how powerful it is and how it's going to change everything. They're not underselling it, or they're not overselling it, I should say. I think it's really unbelievable. I use an AI agent in my day-to-day life 3 or 4 times. I don't use Google that much anymore. I use an AI to find the information I want. I use an AI to plan my trips. It's very useful. So I think, though, the difficulty comes in with anything to do with medicine, health, wellness, that stuff, is the inputs are just fantastically complicated. And to have this AI agent, which is essentially a reflection of ourselves, to feed back to us what may be best for us, just because the amount of stuff for any individual to intake on this it's impossible. So I'm really looking forward to how this is going to be affecting things. I think there's going to be a huge amount of disruption out there in the world. I mean, we've already, you see things like lawyers, accountants, architects, designers, writers, all this stuff is going to be tremendously disrupted. But I also think our relationship to medicine, to doctors, to wellness is also going to be disrupted, for the good part. So there's going to be things gained and things lost in any one of these kind of major technological disruptions. That's the way it goes. This week on Just Try This, because, it's Valentine's Day this week. So let's talk about that nice feeling chemical called oxytocin. So how do we get that? How do you get that warm, fuzzy feeling? Well, I'm going to give you a quick tip on how to do this. It's really simple. Hold someone's hand. Something happens when we touch another human being that we get this flood of oxytocin, and our heart rate will actually go down. Our blood pressure will go down. Our sense of contentment goes up. We get flooded with all these lovely chemicals, and all it takes is just holding someone's hand. Hopefully somebody's hand that you know. Don't be holding the hand of a stranger. Hold the hand of a loved one for a little bit, and you're going to get that nice feeling. So in honor of Valentine's Day this week, reach out and touch somebody. Hold their hand. Give somebody a hug, somebody that you know, somebody you care about, and get some of that feel-good chemical oxytocin. That's this week's tip on Just Try This. Thanks so much for spending some time with us. I know your time is valuable, and it's really the most valuable resource we have. What can I say? And you decided to spend some of it with us, and thank you for that. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all that you do, and I appreciate that you spend your time with us. And if you want to reach out to me, hit me up, david@weareageist.com, or any of the other emails or social handles you want to hit me up at. Love to answer your questions. If there's anybody that you think we should speak to, please have at it. Looking forward to another awesome week. Hope you guys are too, and we'll see you next week. Take care now.